Welcome to Spiritual Vacancy, the space where we stop running from the void and start filling it. I'm Brooke Ann, I'm a professional psychic medium, and in each episode we dive deep into the practices, stories, and insights that turn spiritual hunger into spiritual wholeness. If you've been feeling like something is missing, you're in the right place. Let's fill the gap together, and your journey starts now. Well, good morning and welcome to the podcast. Today I have my husband back on. Since everybody loves him, he needs to start his own podcast. Seriously. Everybody's like, Jeremy needs to be on. Jeremy needs to be on. So I'm having him back on. And he actually doesn't know what we're talking about today, but he does. He just doesn't know the topic. So today I want to talk about, have you heard of the invisible string theory? So it actually originates from the East Asian folklore, ancient Chinese legend, the red thread of fate or red string of fate. And this is about where when you meet people, like how it's destined when you meet them at a certain time, but you kind of already have connections prior to fully meeting them. And that's sort of, we have experienced that.
Yeah. I am so thankful for all of you that said that you would like me to be back on. So thank you all. She, was saying we will just kind of go in and do it blind, which I think that's fun. That way you can get just an honest reaction from me. So the invisible string theory.
Right. It's actually gotten a lot of attention from TikTok. Also, Taylor Swift did a song about it called The Invisible String, but I've actually known about it for a long time. I didn't really realize there was an actual name for it though, with the invisible string until somewhat recently. But, I've actually had that happen a couple of times in my life, and the main one was with you.
Hmm.
So, what?
It's me.
It's you,
Yeah.
Jessica.
Well, off the hip, this is something that's been in like a lot of cultures and other ways where they talk about it, whether it's, I think it's either Greek mythology or something where you have the fates and they spin and weave things. So there's other things like there's a popular book series that I read that's a fantasy book called The Wheel of Time. And it's all talking about the wheel weaves as the wheel will weave, which is very difficult to say. I'm not going to try that on a podcast again. But and then there's even stuff too where it may not be talking about the string, but the interconnectedness of things. I remember reading a book called The Celestine Prophecy years and years ago.
Yes.
And it was just talking about how there's not coincidences. Coincidences are all things that are tied together in some which way, shape, or form.
Right. And so this is kind of part of the definitions are exactly what you talked about, but it's also about, uncanny coincidences, right? Even though there are really no coincidences, they're meant to be, but it's, when you and your partner or a friend share parallel lives where you're at a concert together or you're at a show together or you do events together, but you don't actually meet them until years later. And then you come back together and you're like, oh, wow, I was there too, but you weren't supposed to meet at that specific time. And it's all about like a sense of comfort and an instant connection that defies logic when you do meet the person. It's like one of those, almost like not soulmate, but it could be like a soul connection where you feel like you've known them forever, even though you just met them. There's also, like, I want to talk about some criticisms and psychological perspectives of it because some people have unrealistic expectations, relying heavily on fate and can lead to ignoring red flags or staying in unhealthy relationships because you feel like this is my soulmate or this was fated. But sometimes it is fated, but it doesn't mean you have to be with them forever, right? It's part of that lesson. But it can also cause anxiety sometimes because it can lead to stress for waiting for a destined person rather than just finding the joy in the moment.
So a couple things on that too. It's hard to sometimes know whether something is a self-fulfilling prophecy. So you talk to somebody and let's say that they're a psychic and they tell you this thing is going to happen, and then you wait until that thing happens. And so that's the thing that you have to be careful of, to your point, is that how much of it is a self-fulfilling prophecy. The other thing, and this is just my view on it, and everybody's got a different view on this type of stuff. I do think fate exists, okay? But my view of fate is it's like a current. You can fight fate. Okay, with strength of will, like a thing that I like to say a lot too is belief shapes reality. There are times where I feel like something is supposed to happen, but you can fight that flow of things if you're really trying to make something else happen.
Mm-hmm.
But that's, and that's an age-old philosophical question is free will versus destination, so, or predestination rather.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
We agree a lot.
Do we? Yeah.
Apparently not on that we agree. But we agree a lot, except for that we disagree that we agree a lot.
We do agree a lot on things, but I do understand what you mean, especially with free will and kind of like living in the moment. If it's supposed to be, it will be. And even if you have your thoughts on it, it doesn't mean that it's going to happen as quickly as you want. It might happen later on in life, or you might be like, well, this isn't happening right now, so it's not meant for me. But it could actually happen in a couple years, and it is actually meant for you, and it is going to happen when it's supposed to happen. So well, I have three stories I can think of that I'm going to share with you about the invisible string theory with my life. So one is you're my most important. So when I first moved here to Myrtle Beach in 1999, I worked at a food line, a grocery store here. And I worked with this girl named Erin. And I didn't realize at the time, I worked with her for over 2 years, that she was actually married to Jeremy's best friend, but I never met Jeremy ever. I never met him. And it wasn't until I quit Food Lion and I was looking for another job and I remembered Aaron worked at this restaurant. And at the time, Aaron wasn't the brightest, crayon in the box when I worked with her at Food
Aaron,
Lion.
I think you are a very bright crayon. I am not associated with that statement
I'm sure she
at
is now.
all.
She was very young. She was like 18 or 19. She was very young. And I was young too, but I was just like my thought process when I went to go apply to this restaurant where I had never waited tables before. And I had went to many restaurants like and applied and no everybody said no. I probably went to 30 restaurants that day and got rejected. And I pulled into this restaurant and I was like, Erin worked here. And if she's that stupid and she can work here, I could do this. That's not even joking. That is like my thought process. And I got the job. I got hired on the spot. And and then I ended up working not with Aaron. Aaron didn't work there anymore. And I worked with this guy named Jojo, and he worked at a bar in Murrells Inlet. And his girlfriend was going. There was a band I wanted to see, and this was like a couple years even after that. And after I started working at the restaurant, and I go there, and that's where I met you. And then come to find out,
I
you
was the best man at Erin's wedding because she got married to one of my best friends, Sean. The other thing that's kind of crazy on my side of things is I was not good at relationships. I had not had like the longest relationship I had before us was 9 months. That was it. And that was a big struggle for me too. And I had gotten out of that relationship and I wasn't ready to meet anybody for, a while. And the night that I met Brooke, I told my friends I'm ready to meet somebody. I feel like I'm ready, which was crazy because I was getting ready to embark on traveling for the next like 5 years through the falls and the winter. Like, why I thought I would be ready to meet somebody. I was supposed to meet with this one person at a bar. That person didn't show up. I went to another bar with a friend and randomly ended up at the bar that she was at. And I was getting a drink and being nosy because I can't help myself. And she was playing a trivia game. And that's how our conversation started.
Mhm.
And it was just,
Then we ended up talking
yeah,
for
hours.
hours.
Yeah.
Hours.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. And and yeah, for hours. And then that's how our relationship, started to unfold. We dated for a long time. But it was interesting because I was actually working with Erin when she got married. And I never met Jeremy, never ran into him. Sean would come pick her up from the grocery store. And that's where it's like it's destined to meet, right? And then another one,
Meanwhile, I was playing in bands with Sean and everything too. So,
never met him.
yeah.
And it also makes you feel like, if we had met before that, we probably wouldn't be sitting here today. Probably wouldn't have worked out. We were just at different points in our life at that point, prior to us actually meeting, right?
And as always, my wife is right.
True.
But she really is right in this too, because both of us had, by the time we met, we had done a lot of growing and we had changed,
Mhm. A lot.
I'm not going to talk about her choice of men before me, but I will say that when I met her family,
They were losers.
We were not allowed to stay in their house because they were there.
If you talk about me dating the biggest losers, like literally jailbirds, drug addicts, like that was me. Oh, I'll save you.
Yeah.
I'll help you. You need money? Sure. I dated every loser I think possible.
Well, and the other thing too is I think it's because I was a nice guy, but I was a nice guy that I had long hair and I looked, like more of a bad boy than I actually have a good heart and I am a nice guy.
Mhm.
And I think because of how I looked, it maybe took her defenses down and she thought maybe that she could fix me.
Like,
Years later,
that's
I'm
right.
still not
Yeah.
fixed.
Never. You're never gonna be.
But she basically housebroken me, which is good at this point,
For
right?
the most part. I mean, it's still a learning curve. If you, if you can see my face right now. But it was just meant to be. And then so the other two things is with Lee. So I had went to this like group event years prior to meeting Lee. I want to say in like 2020 or 2021, something like that. My friend Jen had invited me and said we're gonna go. We went, and that was the only one we went. We only went to this event one time. That was it. And then Lee had booked a reading with me, and I just felt like a connection with her, and she felt the same. And I don't normally like keep in touch with clients or make plans to meet. And we met the next week, and then as we started to get to know each other, we were actually at that event. It was the only one she did, and this was a an event that happened like a lot. They did them, every couple months, but that was the only one I went to. I never went to another one and her either. And we started talking about it, and I'm like, no way. You were at that event too? And she's like, yes. And I'm like, I was there. And we didn't meet. I never ran into her. I mean, and there was probably about maybe 40 women there, and you could just kind of see some of the people. And it was like an hour and a half type of an event. But no, I never met her till a couple of years later, however many years later. And then the last one is with my friend Jen, who works at Tidal Paws. When we were adopting our dog Lily 7 years ago, Jen did all of our paperwork. Jen did our background checks. Jen did our text messaging with me, and I had no idea who she was. And then fast forward to meeting our other friend Jen, because it's the Jens, there's two Jens. She works with Jen, so you've got Jen, and they work together. And come to find out, Jen was like, "Oh my God, you guys are the ones that adopted Lily. I did all the paperwork for you." Had no idea who she was, never met her in person, only text messages. But it's interesting how it like comes full circle sometimes. And that's just some.
And you met Jen, not Title Pause Jen, but
Mhm.
Jen Doberman, because we had our
Coffee shop.
and Jen was best friends with somebody, the wife of one of my best friends from school.
Right.
So the other pop reference I'll make to this would be like the what is it, the 7 degrees or 13 degrees of Kevin Bacon, right? It's a principle that repeats itself in lots of things. I work in the timeshare industry, and we used to always, there's always that joke too, like if you work in the timeshare industry, you're only so many people away from somebody that even if the person is on the other side of the country. It's the interconnectedness is something that's there. And one other thing I would also is, who knows about deja vu, right?
Oh
Deja
yeah.
vu is another thing that could be some of those remnants of where you're perceiving what those strings are or those connections are. And for me, the way I look at a lot of this stuff is it's symbols. It's just symbols. It's the way that we can process things that we can't really communicate. We know there's an interconnectedness between us and lots of people. When you meet somebody and they just feel right. They
Right.
feel right. You're instantly at ease. You're just like there's, and even too like with we had a dog Roxy, and Roxy was always uncomfortable around men, but never around me. And she looked just like a dog I had growing up. And there's like so many degrees if I get into this story,
Yeah.
that it's like
Crazy.
she said to me, I'm ready for us to have a dog, which I wanted a dog so bad. And I was so happy. And I told my mom, I'm going to get a dog just like Buffy. She knew we were going to the pound. Buffy was a mixture between a golden retriever, a cocker spaniel, and a poodle. What are the chances, right? We go to the pound. We meet all these dogs, but it just didn't feel right. I snuck into the employees only section
Mhm.
and I found
You
her.
did.
And she didn't bark at me. She never barked at my brother. She
Mhm.
could tell when my mom would come over to our house. So it's
Yeah,
just
before
like,
she even got there,
yeah,
she would be at the window barking. We're like, "What are you doing?" And then 2 minutes later, his mom would be pulling into
yeah,
the driveway. We're like,
yeah,
"Okay." She just knew.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's one of those ones. It's like you can just see where fate and patterns and things that are right repeat themselves. And so for me, it's just keep yourself open to those and trust your instinct with a lot of those things. Almost every time I find that I second guess my instincts on those, I regret it. I'm like, dang it, I should have just went with it.
Yeah, I think it's normal to like second guess though. I think
Yeah.
that's just human nature because we'll second guess certain things. But and then not to totally change it, but like our birthdays. So our son's is the 29th because I'm all into numbers, right? So our son's is the 29th, which 2 plus 9 is 11, which breaks down to 2. Yours is the 11th, which breaks down to 2, and mine is actually the second, which is 2. So it's kind of weird how all of our birthdays and then our house address is actually 11 and breaks down into 2. So I'm like, those numbers are very significant around our life. It's just odd. So if you ever want to look at your birthdays and your families and, you know, what do you call that? Like downsize into the numbers of, adding them up to become one. It's odd that we're all end up at a 2.
Yep.
Yeah. And, but
Because
yes.
she's my number one.
Yeah, and his number 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and probably more that he doesn't even want.
She has a knife right here.
I left that in the last episode. Why would I keep bringing that back? But do you think of any invisible string theories about you, or because he didn't even know what we were talking about. Like I'm just gonna have him
Yeah.
on every now and then and just have a surprise conversation about what we're. I'm not gonna tell him what
I'm just
we're
gonna
saying.
refer to my notes. No, I don't
Yeah.
have any notes because I
No,
know about
I know.
this, but I just would say there's been so many patterns and so many things where, you just realize like those moments in time where, paths almost crossed, they didn't cross. But for me, I don't have a gift like she does. I'm not a medium and
But you are.
but
You're very in tune.
I've always had an ability to feel what is right. And like I can sometimes feel like if something is going to happen or not happen. And it's just always been something that whenever I trust my gut on it, I'm good.
Hmm.
And I put trust in people that people have told me like, oh, you should never trust this person. And so many people have done me right. And that's all I can do is like I said, I go off my gut and I think that's for me how I coincide a little bit with the invisible.
String theory.
Yes.
Yes, I
I
agree.
keep on wanting to talk about string cheese, but that's not what we're talking about.
You just ate breakfast too. You shouldn't be too hungry. Although he loves him some cheese. But anyways, have you guys ever heard of the invisible string theory and how does it relate in your life? Or are you just learning about it and then you look back in your life to think about how you are so connected with important people that are around you currently? So let us know in the comments. We hope you guys enjoyed today's episode and we will see you all in 2 weeks. Have a beautiful day.
Namaste, Gems.
Oh, I'm gonna kill him. I swear.